All right, y'all. Today we're going to take a look at this boudoir photography business. We're going to check out its local search, its city search, and we're going to see if it's got BSS, yes or no. All right, so we're back here in the GBC universe where we're taking declining boudoir photographers to the #1 boudoir photographer in their city. And as always, our North Star here is FSIC, full spectrum intent capture. More about that, pinned video up on the top, homepage, wherever. Now, this is because FSIC explains that all boudoir photographers either rise or fall. So we got in white down there, our intent, basically our intent spectrum, highest intent on the left, lowest intent over on the right. And so if a boudoir photography business is rising, it's most likely bringing in peeps from the entire intent spectrum, the whole length. And if a boudoir photography business is falling, then most likely it's missing, not bringing in, some cohort of people. Now, the highest 10 people over on the left are doing things like Google search, social media search, like a boudoir photo shoot in their city, like right now. And those people are fastest to the money, highest to convert. We talk about that with BSS here in our videos. And then our sister brand, way at the end over there, name is Boudoir FB Ad Doctor. That's where we are talking about BLCS. But right now, we're only currently working with the boudoir photographers running more than 10 grand a month in boudoir Facebook ads. So on to BSS. BSS is boudoir search sameness. As when a boudoir photographer has either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google for the highest intent buyer keywords in their city. And so 0 slots is awful. I mean, we're basically dead at that point. That's because we know approximately 80% of Google searches never even reach page 2. So 80% of Google searches literally, one and done Google searches, or page 1 and done Google searches. So from page 2, only approximately 20% of searches of people searching will ever even find us. And page 1 slot, that's not good either. Or 1 slot on page 1. I mean, it's better, but we're still basically invisible because guess what? There's 10 organic slots on page 1. If we got one of them, then there's basically 9 other boudoir photographers with 1 slot. Best scenario. Worst scenario is if another boudoir photographer is like 2 or 3, and then we're kind of really never getting looked at. But let's have everyone has 1. And guess what a buyer's doing? They're going down, clicking open everyone's link on page 1, because approximately 80% of buyers ain't even hitting page 2. And guess what? They're contacting everyone on page 1, getting a quote from everyone, comparing, price gets shoved down through the roof, or down through the floor, and kind of steals margin from everyone. So 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google, no, that's BSS. We cannot deal with any of that. And that's because 0, 1 slots on page 1 on Google is actually not normal. It's actually a symptom of 2 deeper root causes. So it's super common, it's accepted, but symptom of 2 deeper root causes, and those are market saturation and the false belief of page 1 equality. So market saturation, yeah, basically everyone knows this. It's like, seems like every week somebody gets a new iPhone, and then they're throwing up their Google My Business profile and their websites and the National Boudoir. That's kind of taking competition, page 1 organic slots away from us. Or someone gets a camera, and they're posting to the mom groups in the National Boudoir. Also, big wave of this happened during COVID. People lost their jobs, they're still earning money. So as a result, everyone's got a smartphone and an awesome camera. So pretty easy people to say that they now for boudoir. But what that does, increase the supply of boudoir photographers, but the number of buyers remains the same. So that makes it harder for every seller, every boudoir photographer to be getting those clients. All right, so everyone knows that. Basically, everyone knows that. Basically, nobody knows about this second thing, which is the false belief of page 1 equality. So that is kind of boudoir photographers kind of automatically assuming without even questioning that every boudoir photographer is entitled, to like either 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. And, maybe they had their slot 8 on page 1 of Google with their website. So new boudoir photographers came in, ranked higher, and got pushed out to page 2. And it's like, oh, well, every boudoir photographer gets 0 or 1 slots on page 1 of Google. It is what it is. And basically, they're believing there's nothing that can be done about it. This is 100% incorrect. And I know this for a fact because I went from 0 out of 10 slots on Google, on page 1 of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days with this new strategy we're going to show you all today, or that I'll describe today. And it's kind of like we got to break through the mental barrier of accepting this as a false belief. And then once we do that, we can see, okay, there is a solution out there that we'll get to in like 2 pictures here. That, okay, we can use this to actually literally get as many page 1 slots on Google as we want to put in the effort for. Next, boudoir photographer BSS is a disappearing boudoir photographer, a DBP. So, disappearing boudoir photographer. Basically, if we got 0 or 1 slots on page 1 on Google, we're disappearing because we're either on page 2 or deeper, and approximately 8% of searchers are never going to find us, and that's the bulk of the market that we care about. And if we got one slot on page one of Google, we're being price shopped against the other 9, destroying our margins. We're basically invisible anyways. And we care about this because a disappearing boudoir photographer is the warning light. It's kind of the the red flag going up, where a disappearing boudoir photographer precedes the boudoir photography business itself disappearing. So that's why we care about that. And we got our micro universe here. We got disappearing with boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness. It's caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page one the false belief of page one equality, where we accept it's a false belief. So we're like, okay, now what's the solution? Boom, we finally got a solution. But through our testing, we've learned that BSS is treated with social search saturation, aka S-cubed methodology. And we know this works because we invented it. It's what I use to go from 0 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, to 9 out of 10 slots, page one of Google, in only 10 days. And I mean, it works exactly as it's described. We saturate social search with the highest intent keywords, pick up as many slots on social as possible on social search, and that kind of acts as like the backside of the Andes Mountains in South America, where the streams, the small rivers from the backside of the Andes Mountains actually all flow together to the Amazon River, and into the big Amazon River. That big Amazon River is like page one of Google, and so, but it all starts with social search saturation. That's where it all stems from. And the cool thing about this is the only solution I've ever seen for boudoir photographers that can successfully fight against market saturation, so maintain the business and not decline, but also still grow in the face of market saturation, and for it to happen relatively quickly. And those at least visible results of getting on page one of Google that happen relatively quickly. The only other solution that I have seen is having a strong brand, but that takes 5 to 10 years, which doesn't satisfy the relatively quickly criteria that we need. Because dude, we're in the AI. Dude, AI taking page shops. We gotta get as much. We gotta get as much slots on page one as Google as possible before AI starts taking people's jobs. And I mean, it's pretty easy to see. SQ methodology can do this. So imagine we're in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, and there's 1 million boudoir photographers. Everyone's got their websites saying they shoot boudoir. So page one competition is insanely crazy. And let's say we take, we see that and we say, okay, we got to take S-cubed methodology to the max. So what we actually do is we actually do S-cubed methodology so hard that we're like the first 300 slots on social search for the highest intent keywords, highest intent buyer keywords for boudoir in our city across all the social networks. And then let's say that flows onto Google, and we're taking like the first 300 slots on Google for the highest intent keywords for boudoir buyers in our city. And it's 10 organic slots per page on Google. So we're really taking up the first 30 pages on Google. So anytime any buyer looks up, types in a high intent buyer keyword into Google, or even any of the social networks, they're only seeing us. They basically got to go to like page 31 on Google to essentially find any of our competitors. And so once that happens, then basically once that happens, and buyers can essentially only find us. They only see us. Who are they going to go with? Obviously us, whose business will be growing, even though there's 999,999 other boudoir photographers. Obviously us, and whose business will be dying and disappearing because they essentially cannot be found at all for anyone searching. All our competitors. So again, this is why I said the SQ methodology is the only thing I've seen that helps boudoir photographers maintain and still grow their business in the face of market saturation. That happens, or I can get on page one of Google relatively quickly, way faster than brand. In my estimation, I could probably build that brand about 8x faster normally because we show up so much more on so many other surfaces. Now, once you're with SQ methodology, we now have page one visibility. So, we got multiple slots on page one of Google as an initial benefit. Second initial benefit is every new slot we get on page one of Google, we're actually kicking one of our competitors at that slot, push them off to page one or deeper, making so approximately 80% of Google searches can never find them. So we turn them into disappearing boudoir photographers where if they stay there, they're eventually going to exit, be kicked out of the market. So this is an awesome, second initial benefit of using S-cubed methodology. So we're making other peeps invisible. And page one visibility activates boudoir search visibility for us. So BSV, we actually, this is where GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots on page 1 on Google comes in. So the GBC universe recommends 3 out of 10 slots page 1 on Google because basically every other boudoir photographer page 1 on Google will have 1 out of 10 slots or 1 slot. So if we see 3, or if a buyer sees 3, they're kind of subconsciously going to think, man, why is Google recommending this person so much? I guess I'll click into them and may not even click on any of our competitors. And second reason GBC Universe recommends 3 out of 10 as the minimum, because there's a tiny, tiny, tiny chance another boudoir photographer can have 2, which means we also got to be able to dominate them in that case as well, with us having 3. So, and the recommendation of 3 is basically if we got 3 out of 10 page 1 on Google, we're basically guaranteeing we're not declining. So we're guaranteeing we're either, treading water, so maintaining the business, or growing the business. Most likely growing the business, but at least we're at least not declining. That's like the big goal here. And finally, a boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility is a visible boudoir photographer. So we got our full micro universe here. A disappearing boudoir photographer with boudoir search sameness is caused by the dual horns of market saturation and page 1 and the false belief, page 1 equality. Now we have the solution S-cubed methodology. We achieve page 1 visibility, become a visible boudoir photographer with boudoir search visibility. All right, now my results doing this. So I wanted to rank for the term BLCS boudoir. So I know, okay, the exact thing I do for that is S-cubed methodology. I want to have as many slots page 1 Google as possible. Let's go down the organic slots. And we got organic slot 1, Instagram, me. Slot 2, me. Slot 3, me. Slot 4, me. Slot 5, me. Slot 6, me. Slot 7, me. Slot 8, me. Slot 9, no, I'm not slot 9. Slot 10, me. So dude, I went from 0 out of 10 slots to 9 out of 10 slots on page 1 of Google in only 10 days, purely using S-cubed methodology. So these are the results I've gotten for myself with it. Now, all right, main event here. I'm gonna see if this boudoir photography business has BSS for its its local search and its city search. Also gonna see if it is hitting the recommended GBC minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. All right, so we're going to Rancho Cordova, California. All right, so here we go. We're in Rancho Cordova, California. And let's see what we got. Let's see what we got. No, that doesn't count. All right, so we got 0 out of 10. So we got BSS for our local search, and we are not hitting the GBC recommended minimum 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. We're going to go to our city search now, larger city search, Sacramento, California. Let's check out here. Let's see. All right, we got 1. Boom. Nice. City's always harder than local. So, all right, we got 1 out of 10. And let's see. All right, so we got 1 out of 10 local. So we do still got BSS for that one. All right, so final result, we got so local we got 0 out of 10, so we got BSS. City we got 1 out of 10. We also have BSS, and for both, we did not hit the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google. So if you're a disappearing boudoir photographer and you've done your local search for the highest 10 buyer keywords in local and city, and either you got BSS for 1 or both of them, or you're not hitting the GBC recommended minimum of 3 out of 10 slots, page 1 on Google, and you've accepted that the false belief of page 1 equality is exactly that, a false belief, and Google will actually give us as many page 1 slots as we want to put in the effort to acquire. And you're liking the initial benefits of utilizing S-cubed methodology, namely, more slots page 1 on Google, and the second initial benefit, which is kicking out our competitors from page 1 of Google, making them disappearing boudoir photographers. And you also understand the market saturation, the 2 prongs of that. Yeah, new iPhones, new gear, more boudoir photographers over time. It's unstoppable, cannot stop. But yeah, you get that. But you're also looking ahead, and you're saying, man, AI is going to be already taking people's jobs. It's going to be taking more and more people's jobs over time. And so you're like, okay, there's going to be actually kind of more and more people pushed into becoming boudoir photographers by AI taking people's jobs, and guess what? Everyone's got a smartphone with a great camera. So this will be on top of people upgrading their gear, become boudoir photographers. They'll be forced to. Same as back in like COVID. So you see now you're like, all right, S-key methodology. This can actually fortify my position on page 1, like by putting so many links on page 1 that we even got backup links on page 1 that Google ain't ranked because we took too many slots, which means these new boudoir photographers coming in because of AI taking their job, they have no chance to even rank on page 1. kind of like building up the levees in Nolens, Louisiana to keep the ocean out because the ocean's below sea level. So you're seeing, okay, SQ methodology, kind of a future benefit is basically fortifying current position to the kind of standard peeps that'll be coming through as they upgrade their gear. And the other peeps who are new boudoir photographers, but they got laid off. So they needed to find some way to increase their income. And so you're liking that kind of future benefit. You also understand the two other future benefits, which is as we successfully execute SQ methodology every single day, day in, day out, what we're actually getting is we're building up these invisible thematic keyword columns around our brand. It's kind of like, the columns at the Parthenon in Athens, Greece, or like the hub and spoke, kind of like bicycle wheel, the hub in the middle and all the spokes coming out. That's the hub in the middle is our brand, our business name, our website, our social handles. We're building up this kind of back-end AI mindshare that our brand is connected to is entrenched, connected to all these thematic keyword columns, which gives us the future increased probability, the future benefit of higher chance of being recommended right here in the AI overview and the premier prime real estate up on the top of search. And I mean, this is amazing. And can't even get this AI overview by paying for an ad. It's all about kind of, keyword frequency, relevance, age, authority, all things like that. Kind of every day we build these invisible thematic keyword columns attached to our business name. Our probability of being recommended in AI overview increases. Same way as being recommended in AI search. It's the same exact thing. ChatGPT search, Claude, Perplexity, Microsoft Copilot, Google Gemini, same exact process. And so if peeps are, peeps searching for boudoir photographer through AI search, dude, it's more and more every day. I mean, right now in Google standard search is like 90% of global search, but dude, AI search is more and more every single day, 100%. And last time I did a search for boudoir photographers in the city, it was with ChatGPT and it recommended me 3. And I actually then went like Google standard search to that city. And I would see, okay, how many boudoir photographers are actually in the city, like standard search. And dude, there was like 60. I was like, what? We got to find a way. We got to get one of these 3 slots in, AI search with these AI search apps. And so you like those 2 future benefits. You also understand my plan is to only work with 1 boudoir photographer per city. My current plan is to work with only 1 boudoir photographer per city. So you're seeing that, okay, you've decided to be the first mover because, becoming the first mover, you can actually kick out your competitors and actually, dude, build a massive gap between you and all your competitors now and the future competitors coming from AI taking people's jobs. Like this massive AI backend mindshare gap with all these thematic keyword columns that we'll be focusing on. And you also understand the reverse, where if one of your competitors actually, jumps out with me first, well, then you're going to be locked out from using our S-cubed methodology. And you're actually going to have to go rederive it, derive it the first time for yourself. You'll never actually know if you've derived it correctly because we've perfected this. And then you're going to have to equal our execution every single day. But me and your competitor, would have already been working on it for a ton, successfully executing every day. So we'd already start with a massive gap ahead of you. So with you executing equally to us every single day, you would maintain that gap. So you'd have to actually double or triple our execution every single day to like be pulling back that thematic keyword mindshare from the AI systems and their backend brain from me and your competitor towards you. And who's got 80 hours to do all this? Plus, you won't be 100% confident you've derived it correctly anyway, so probably hard to even put in the effort initially to execute it. So you realize all that, and you're like, screw that, and you're like, screw that. I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather be the first one to actually, rather be the first one to, in my city, to block out all the competitors. And so if that's you, shoot me a DM. And yeah, shoot me a DM when I open up for new patient intake. The hospital opens up again, because right now, new patient intake is closed. But when I do open up the slots for new patient intake, then yeah, shoot me a DM, and we'll see if you qualify to use our S cubed methodology.